Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Fort Worth Roots. You can find Fort Worth Roots everywhere by just looking up Fort Worth Roots. We're on all the streaming services, all the social media things, and if you need to get a hold of us, it's media@fortworthroots.com. This episode is a powerful one, and it was an absolute honor to sit down with these folks. They are doing some really cool stuff. Their big push right now is for something called SB22. And they want you to talk to your lawmakers and tell them, hey, get with the program. Texas is the best place for everything, and it should also be the best place to make a movie. Go check these guys out on Instagram. Media for Texas is their at, and if you're not impressed yet, you're going to be. It was a real treat getting to go down to Austin, sit in their studio. Buddy Quaid, thank you so much. He was the gentleman sitting behind the camera and making sure that everything went off smooth, made my job super simple. I just had to sit there with our guest and be part of the conversation, and it turned out great. I'd encourage you guys to go check out the video on YouTube because it does look wonderful. What else? That's the synopsis. That's the whole thing. I'm still just overjoyed that I got to do this. So anyway, go check them out on Instagram. In fact, I tell you what, stop what you're doing. Go check them out on Instagram and then come back to the episode. But we're going to have some fun here, and hopefully we get to do more work with Media for Texas because I just dig what they're doing, and these are some really cool people. And I'm looking forward to see SB22 get passed so that we can start getting more awesome movies and TV series and all sorts of stuff. Last thing before we get started, I want Media for Texas to hear this. I know they're going to be listening to it, but I also want anybody else listening to this to know that Fort Worth Roots, our brand, our thing that we do, we are here to help get the message out. So please holler at us if you'd like us to help with any kind of project that you got going on inside the Fort Worth area. We're here for it. Use us as an asset. Okay, that's enough talking out of me. Thank y'all so much for being here. Please give it up for our new friends, Chase and Grant with Media for Texas, and let's start the show.
All right, we are now recording.
So the big fantastic music just kind of faded out, and now we're live.
Awesome.
On the
3,
Fort
2,
Worth
1
Roots
live.
podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for doing this with us.
Of course.
And let's get into what you guys do, your organization, and talk about this new bill coming up. Can you tell people who you are and what you do with Media for Texas?
So my name's Chase Musslewhite, and this is Grant. He'll give his little spiel, but I always start it off. We're both sixth-generation Texans, filmmakers, co-founded Media for Texas about a year and a half ago. Really to do our part in getting this bill passed and doing what we can to create a full film ecosystem in Texas and make Texas number one when it comes to film production.
Excellent.
Yeah, essentially I think we're a community-driven nonprofit advocacy group.
Yeah.
Right now we're focusing on getting this bill SB22 passed to bring more opportunities, filming opportunities, media opportunities to everyone, creatives across the state.
Okay, let's get into the bill here in just a minute, but I've got to clear this up because it seems too fantastic to be real. Did you guys have anything to do with that video with all of the celebrities talking about bringing Hollywood to Texas or film production to Texas?
So I helped produce the first Good for Texas video, the one with Dennis and Glenn and all those guys. Really funny story. I grew up with a friend named George Lane. Happy to connect you to him. And he is good friends with Dennis Quaid because he works in the Capitol. And Dennis had gotten involved in the Capitol via different channels, and I think he was involved with the grid, and Buddy's actually in the room and he can actually answer that. But so Dennis was already in contact with George, dealing with other stuff politically with the Texas energy grid and all that good stuff. They got to talking, realizing, why doesn't Texas have a better film program? Right at the same time, I was getting involved last session with trying to get a bill off the ground last session. Bumped into George in the neighborhood in Houston, basically, and he's like, wait, you do film? I need someone to help me produce this Good for Texas video. And then it just went off from there. This past go-round, our partner, Stray Vista, produced the True to Texas video. We were busy doing the Senate finance hearing, which was took a lot of time, and they basically happened, coincided right at the same time.
That's where your guy, Taylor Sheridan, testified in October last year.
Did he do well?
He
He
did
did
very
amazing.
well.
Okay,
He spoke
good.
for 2
Yeah.
hours.
And they were basically, I think the Senate Finance hearing was the Friday, and then the shoot was that weekend.
Okay.
So Stray Vista, they're great. They're one of our, longest good friends in this whole coalition. They have a studio out in Dripping Springs. Happy to connect you to them too.
I love Dripping Springs. Beautiful.
Virtual production facility. So super, super cool. We were there shooting something yesterday. That's where True to Texas was shot. And we were on set helping, giving feedback about what would be the best for the bill, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So awesome. And when I saw that video, I just got really excited because it's, Texas it's a lot of things, but it's not what you think of whenever it comes to film or creative ventures. And I mean, there's lots of movies and TV shows that have been shot in Texas, but it's not what you think of.
No.
And why not? That's kind of the question that gets raised
Exactly.
in that video. And it's the right place for it for a ton of reasons.
Grant has a favorite line
Okay.
from the video.
Yeah, if you don't like what they're dishing, then get in the kitchen, essentially.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what you just asked is the whole reason why we're going down this path, because incentives are a thing now. And this probably is more on the lines of bill specifics, and we can get to that point if you want to. But you just have to incentivize these people to come here.
Right.
And we have healthcare, we have tech, finance, all these other industries, but we don't have media here in
Right.
Texas. And
Yeah.
I think it took a person like Taylor Sheridan, also with the Chosen television
Yeah.
series out in Midlothian, to really show the rest of the world and our lawmakers that, hey, it's possible to have these types of stories filmed here in Texas. We don't. So yeah, there's a lot
You
of.
don't have to go to New Mexico.
You don't have to go to New Mexico, Georgia,
Louisiana.
Louisiana to film these
Right.
stories. You can do it right
Yeah.
here in Texas because
'Cause-
we're a pretty kick-ass state. I don't
Yeah.
know why we don't have more
Yeah.
opportunities like that present.
Right. And yeah, the backdrop, if you need a certain terrain feature,
Right.
it's here. It's in Texas. You can find it here.
You can shoot
Yeah.
for a lot of places here. You can shoot for South America. You can shoot for the Middle East. Of course, you can shoot for Texas. You can shoot for a lot of places. And it's really a shame more than anything when we lose our Texas stories to other states.
One of my
That's the
favorite
big thing.
stories is I was in a meeting once, a film meeting, and they were trying to describe all of the locations across Texas and what they would replicate, what geographical location they would
Right.
replicate across the globe. And I'm from Midland, and right there on top of where Midland should be, they put Afghanistan.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah. So any, Army stuff, that can be shot in Midland. So.
But we
And you
just-
got Monahans with all the sand there.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Sand dunes and whatnot. We took a trip down to, people are probably getting tired of hearing me say this, but we took a trip down to Big Bend National Park that we got back a few weeks ago. And just right there in Big Bend, if you go down like River Road or any of the big trails that have expansive mileage in them, the terrain changes that you find just going down one
Yeah.
trail.
It's crazy.
Insane. You'll be on a different planet every time you take a turn.
Yeah. No,
And-
it's really out of this world.
Yeah,
quite
it is.
frankly.
Yeah, some of them
Yeah.
there's a couple of spots that we call Mars because
Yeah.
you turn a corner and you're just like, whoa, we're on a different
And
planet.
unfortunately, people have this idea of Texas and those areas, and all they really think of is New Mexico and the canyons
Yeah.
or whatever they have in New Mexico, because
Right.
that's all we're seeing on our TV screens. Because most of the Texas stories are being lost to New Mexico.
Yeah.
Louisiana takes some, Oklahoma takes some, Georgia takes some, but New Mexico is our big competitor because it can pass.
Yeah.
We do this series called Texas Unseen, and I think we just posted one just now about this new show, Ransom Canyon, which fully Texas story, ranch story. In the background where it's supposed to be, like Texas, there's just like these mountains and these plateaus that don't exist, and they're
It's supposed
quite
to
clearly
it takes place in hill country.
in the hill country.
Texas hill country.
Yeah.
And they're filming rocky plateaus in the background. There's some pretty steep hills. And that's not quite the hill country we know.
Yeah.
And that was a $60 million budget just for one season that we lost. That could
Wow.
all that money could have been spent in this state
Yeah.
on wages, for businesses, on buying things, going back towards sales tax revenue for Texas. We lost all of that because we didn't have a competitive incentive.
I guess because everything you're saying just makes perfect sense. I guess articulating it to somebody that's not in the industry so that they
Yeah.
understand what's
Right.
happening
I
is
think-
probably your biggest struggle, right?
There's a lack of perspective about what other states are giving as well. So right now the bill is suggesting that we give away, or not give away, it was suggesting, it's funny because we actually like to call it an investment and not not an incentive, because it really is
Right.
an investment
Yeah.
in the state.
100%.
So it would invest $500 million into the film industry via incentives every 2 years. So that's $250 million a year. I think that shocks a lot of, sticker shock for that price, because after it would be a 10-year program, so that equates to $2.5 billion. And you hear
Wow.
that number and you're like, whoa, that's too much
Right.
money.
Yeah.
Georgia gives out $1 billion a year for incentives. Last year, they had almost $3 billion worth of in-state spending on film shoots.
Wow.
If we got $500 million every 2 years, $250 million a year, we would basically be in 6th or 7th place in the union instead of like last place. There's still 7 states above us that are giving out way more money. So I think it's that lack of perspective about how much film shoots cost, how much budgets they bring into a state, and how much other states are incentivizing.
Yeah.
So that's our biggest uphill battle, I'd say.
It feels like the right time, though, because you brought up Taylor Sheridan and all the stuff that they're doing out there in the Fort Worth area, shooting for Landman and Yellowstone and all those different TV series that they're working on.
Yeah.
And so with that going on and with all the momentum you guys are picking up, it seems like the right time to be talking about SB22.
For sure. We had this event during South by called the Texas Film Experience, a sort of demo day, if you will, where we brought a booth from every aspect of production, all the way from development through distribution. We had a screenwriter tent, the original screenwriter of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, cool.
We had a full live film shoot, Friday Night Lights recreation with the original cast and crew, all the way down to distribution. We had Cinemark there. Every step of the way, we had little setups and stuff, and the energy was so palpable. It was so amazing. It was really a beautiful day, and everyone is just so excited about the prospect and bringing film to Texas. And we had a lot of people via South by from all over the country who said, I want to go in big on Texas after this. I can feel the energy here. And so I think everyone is ready.
Excellent.
We just need to get this bill passed. So,
Grant, is there something that the public needs to know about? I mean, I know you guys probably spend a lot of your time talking to organizations and politicians and things like that, but what about Texas residents? Is there something that the public needs to know about?
Yeah, that's a really great question. We get a lot of, this is a Hollywood handout, this is not benefiting Texans, et cetera, And Chase's point about the $2.5 billion number, obviously that's a lot of money, but it is a true investment for the state of Texas. For every dollar in, $4.69 comes out in economic activity. So I'll give you an example. Lawman Bass Reeves, one of Taylor's TV shows, they filmed in Strawn, Texas, with a population of 540 people, I think it is. Very, very small town. And over the course of the week, they poured in $1 million of money a day into that small community.
Wow.
And what happens is you're not just bringing in people. I mean, of course, there are some folks that you bring in from other cities to help supply the crew for that day, but you're hiring electricians, carpenters, local electricians, carpenters, police officers,
hotels.
You're booking out hotels, you're booking out restaurants, you're shutting down main
Dry
streets where you're
cleaning.
paying every single business their days,
Time and a half.
revenue, essentially. I mean, it's just so much money flows. And so when we think of ROI for this program, it really comes down to the long-term effects, because if somewhere it blows up that Lawman Bass Reeves filmed in Strawn, Texas, I bet you that there's going to be someone from France or somewhere from Maryland, Utah, wherever that goes, all right, I'm going to go visit that small, cute town,
I wanna go
Strawn,
check that
Texas.
out.
I'm going to go check that out. I'm going to go stay in their hotels, eat at their restaurants. And so you have that just reoccurring economic benefit that just goes on for decades and decades
I've
after
got
that.
a really good example. Fort Worth, Landman.
Yep.
One of the sponsors for Fort Worth Roots is the Body Scrubbery over on Pennsylvania Avenue. And she got contacted by the person that handles this kind of thing, but two of the lead characters from Landman needed to have a day of relaxation.
Okay.
So they reached out to her, and I think they bought like a package for and I don't know, I'm probably messing up the details here, but it was a large purchase that went to a locally owned, female-owned business right there in Fort Worth, and it was a direct result of them shooting in the area. So to your point.
I love this story from Bastrop, the Bastrop Film Commissioner. We love her, Adina Lewis. She has this great story where a couple years ago, actually I don't know how long ago it was, but there was this local flower shop in Bastrop. It was about to go under business. It was about to go out of business, go under. And then a film shoot happened to come to town, and she was able to make what she usually makes in a year in a month from that film shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Completely shoot. They shot in her flower shop. They bought her flowers, and she still isn't. Her shop is still open today because that film shoot came to town. So it's pretty incredible, and it really affects so many people, not just filmmakers, not just crew.
So you're taking Texas money and you're putting it back into Texas businesses, pockets. There's the money. It very rarely really travels outside of the state. It all circulates within Texas.
And I also think it's interesting because we accept other forms of incentives. We incentivize tech. We incentivize, medical infrastructure buildings. Of course, we want to do that. We also have a big incentive program in Texas called the Texas Enterprise Fund, where we spend a lot of money incentivizing, for example, Apple to come build their campus here, or for construction facilities to come build here. For some reason, that's very, very accepted. We've been doing it, and it's interesting because this is actually a better investment in terms of going back directly into the pockets of a vast array of different type of Texans is film. So it's interesting when we get this feedback of Hollywood handout, and I think that goes into, maybe Texans' knee-jerk reaction of don't California my Texas and all that kind of stuff. But, it's interesting also because at the end of the day, that's nowhere in this bill does money leave the state. It does not go to Californians. It doesn't go to any spend outside of Texas. And actually, you have to be a Texan resident to qualify for any sort of incentive.
Nice.
So it's really all about pro-Texans and really uplifting Texan content and Texan stories.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we wanted to drive out here to Austin, Texas and hang out with you guys, is because y'all are making waves and honestly making a difference. And we just want to put ourselves in the same room with people just like you. So
well, it's a really community-driven effort. We have all these stakeholders who have been involved in this process for multiple years, and of course we're out here trying to parade around and get the message out, but it really takes a village to get this bill passed. You have leaders like Lieutenant Governor who's facing this issue head on. He's really going out his way to ensure that this bill gets passed, and so we're grateful that we have a leader like him who can just be a champion of this issue, as well as the people who are authoring the bill as well. So it's just a lot of people are advocating for this to happen, and it's really special to see, really cool to see.
A lot of different heads coming together to make this happen. So
can you? We've been talking about it the whole time, but can you kind of give us the black and white version of what all is in SB22?
For sure, and just some prior context as well as what our current program is. So. There's about 37 states that have film programs in the country. Almost every single one of those states is a long-term program, and by that I mean in their program it states we have X amount of dollars for X number of years. The majority of those programs are running for at least 10 years. So if you have a TV show, if you want to build a studio, okay, at least in 3 years, I'm still going to have 7 more years of funding for sure. Texas. We have a really great film commission, and I think the bones of the program are really great, but unfortunately it's short-term, meaning we only know if we have funding 2 years at a time.
Wow.
Films take a long time to get made. TV shows have a 5-season arc, so they don't want to come plant their roots, find all of their crew, only to not know if season 2 is going to be funded, to have to move to Louisiana or Georgia next year. Yeah. They're just going to go straight there from the beginning.
That's what happened with Fear the Walking Dead. First several seasons filmed here in Austin. The incentive just wasn't good enough for them, so they literally packed up, said see you at Austin Studios, and they moved to Louisiana or Georgia.
And
moved to Georgia.
And then a bunch of crew left with them too, because that was their livelihood. So this bill would make our program long term. There's a funding mechanism that was discovered to enable the state to say we have $500 million every 2 years for the next 10 years.
Okay, so
that's
10
great.
years. You get that 10-year window.
Yes. Stability, also if you want to develop infrastructure. I mean, studio developments take many years to get off the ground and to build. Ross Perot Jr., for example, is a big advocate for this bill. He testified in our Senate hearing, and then someone from Hillwood testified in the House hearing. He's like, if I'm going to dump $500 million into studio infrastructure, I need to have certainty that by the time this is done building, there's still an incentive. Or else I'm not going to pour that money into the state. And I think that's a very black and white argument.
It makes sense,
And then secondarily, we have a not so competitive base rate. And when we say base rate, we mean the percentage that the state gives back for your in-state spending. So the minimum base rate across the country is around 30%. Ours currently starts at 5% and caps around 20%. So even at our highest, it's still 10% lower than the average of what these other states have. And when you're talking about $100 million, that extra 10% is significant, and you can't really argue with the bottom line like that. So, and you know the more of the specifics of what the hierarchy is, but it goes up to capped at 31% with this
For
bill.
the current proposal?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were to spend a minimum of $250K, you would get the incentive rate at 5%. If you spend all the way up to, it's from $250 to $1 million, that's 5%. From $1 million to 1.5, 10% of your in-state spend, and then 1.5 and up, you get the full 25%. So it's all there to incentivize you to spend more money.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there are uplifts that you can get. For example, if you hire a certain number of veterans, you get an extra little uplift on top.
Love that.
And you can cap out at 31%. So that puts us on par with a lot of our competitors. Yeah. Now we're long-term all of a sudden. Now we're on par in percentage rate with our competitors. And then on top of that, we have more funding.
Well, and the way you've structured that, it's encouraging them to make good choices.
Yeah.
To get the most out of what they're doing in a way that's going to help the community.
Totally. And I think it's good to note as well, with this fear, this Hollywood, California, don't California, my Texas, we're not going to be at the top program still.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to be 6th or 7th, which is all we need and all we want. Texas is never going to enter into a rat race to try to vie and, compete just begging people to come to the state. We don't need it economically, and we just will never be that way. What we're trying to establish is an opportunity for filmmakers like us, at the very least, to tell their Texas stories in Texas. Because right now, it's difficult to even make a budget for Texas because it's almost, I don't want to say, it's not laughable, but it's almost like when you're shown the bottom line in Texas and you're shown the bottom line in New Mexico or Georgia or the UK or Canada, it's not just the love of Texas is not enough to convince the financiers to shoot here.
It's like you want to have something that's going to be advantageous from a artistic standpoint, but you also have to factor in business, the business side of it, because at the end of the day, the people that want to make the movie, they have to show this to the investors.
Right, totally.
And they have to sign off on it. So
exactly.
give them the tools they need to go to their investors and say, let's do it in Texas.
Yeah, I think it's important just to ask, why are we even doing this to begin with? Like, why incentives? Why is this the case? Why are we talking so much about money? It's unfortunate that this is the case, but filmmaking, financing films is an incentive game. This type of mechanism was created in the early 2000s, or it started in Canada in the late 1990s, somewhat in Louisiana, but it officially took off in Louisiana in 2001. They said, all right, we're going to incentivize movies to come here and film here. And so ever since then, you had these programs pop up. Georgia, UK has a really robust program. Anyway, they're incentivizing 35, 40, 45, even 50% in Japan, I think, what I read the other day. It's crazy. Half of your budget
I never
just
would
to
have
film
even
here.
thought of this.
Well, I mean, there's some. You have to film like I think for the 50% one, you have to film Japanese type content, et cetera, to further export their culture to the world. But it's just a shame that this has become the model. But it also makes sense because filmmaking is a very, very expensive endeavor, and it's become more expensive since COVID, along with everything else, because you're paying for crews. I mean, just like all the salaries we talked about earlier. It's just very, very, very expensive. So producers will try to get the best bang for their buck wherever they can go. And if they can get 40%, like by all means, they're going to go there. A lot of independent productions with budgets around $3 million or so, they'll go to Eastern Europe, Croatia.
I think it's also funny because like White Lotus, for example, it was originally going to shoot not in Thailand. Thailand developed an incentive program just to win White Lotus. So this I can't remember what the other country was, but I think it's important to know is why. Why did these countries do this? Why did these states do this? And it also points back to why Texas didn't do it when it was taking off. Yeah. So Louisiana started it because they looked around and they said, we've got to diversify our economy. We need more money. Where can we look? Where's an industry we can pull to because we need the money? And they said film. That's a great ROI. It's not as black and white as sales tax revenue says sales tax revenue out, but they saw that it was a good opportunity. And that's when the incentive started. And these other states and these other countries jumped on board because they want the money. Right. Texas is interesting because we have so much money. I mean, in the grand scheme of like, some of other states,
We have
right?
a very strong economy.
We have a strong, which we're so thankful for.
Budget surplus currently.
Yeah.
Since COVID,
And
we're
so
doing well.
exactly, which we're so proud to be Texans and have that, but there wasn't that urge and that necessity of survival mode to have to look into incentives. So before the incentives kicked off, Texas was on its way to becoming the third media coast. Everyone called us that. Everyone was shooting here. In fact, we just posted to our Instagram yesterday, a little fun fact. The first Academy Award winner for Best Picture, Texas movie. First film ever shot, first moving image ever shot in Texas. Nice. Texas was going like this, skyrocketing. We were going to be that next media coast, and then the incentives happened. Mm-hmm. And that's when we saw the disbursement of all of our crew and all of our stories elsewhere. Yeah. So...
Yeah, it's dipped since 2000 or like 2007 or so. It's just production slowly gone down. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, with the vote coming up, what, in 2 weeks, 1 week?
By the 27th at the latest. So 2.5 weeks at the latest, or by 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. 10 days or so.
Nervous.
Well, and I know you guys, this is your passion, so you're going to be naturally nervous about this, but it really does feel like the time is now for something like that to get accomplished. And it sounds like SB22 is, from what you've told me, put together in a way that makes the most sense. Yeah. So
I think
let's get with it, Texas. Come on.
Come on.
Prove it. Just sign it. Just like...
I think what was really...
Call your legislators if you like it. That'll be our closing message.
Yeah.
I'll say that once more.
I think we were really lucky to have, like Grant said, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Senator Joe and Huffman leading the charge on this because they had the hearing in October, which was 5.5 hours that we spoke for. Taylor spoke for 2 hours straight. So, because they were asking him tons of questions. Yeah. They really listened to what we were saying, and they took all of our feedback and all of the studies we had sent them, and they made a bill and a program that makes sense for the film community and also for the state. Yeah. And that's very rare, I feel like, when you have legislators, maybe not, but this is our first experience this whole go-round, and it was very amazing to work with legislators who really listened to the needs of the state.
Cooperation on both sides.
Yeah. So that was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you guys? Get more information.
Totally.
Kind of jump on the bandwagon and cheer you guys on.
Yeah.
At Media for Texas on Instagram.
Yeah.
We also have a pretty resourceful website that lays out what we're trying to achieve, what the bill talks about. We need to update a few information pieces here and there.
But when hopefully the bill passes. Hopefully the bill passes by June 1st. It's signed into law by the governor. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of exciting ideas for Media for Texas, just different things coming down the pipeline. We're going to transition away from just lobbying into more nonprofit world, help the state with workforce development programs, help movies get made in Texas, help advertise Texas, bring more stuff to Texas, get young filmmakers involved on sets. We have a lot of ideas, branded content ideas. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a lot of fun things from Media for Texas.
Find out a way to get podcasters in there, too.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. I'm pretty sure podcasting, if you video it, counts for the program.
Oh, well,
any moving image.
We're in there.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to look at the details. But
yeah.
If the bills pass, they spend the summer, looking at the details, putting stuff on paper, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. So
for sure.
There's opportunity. Yeah, I think if you're listening to this and this is important to you, then it's extremely important to call your local representative. Yeah. It's already passed in the Senate, which is fantastic, but the next big hurdle is going to be the House passage. So we've been talking about, that will happen in the next 10 days or so. So it's very important to call your legislator, say, hey, this is important for me. This benefits my community. If you've had experience with seeing a film production or owning a business where a film production helped you out, or you just enjoy seeing more of Texas up on the big screen, this is very vital for you to call and voice your support.
I think if you're a proud Texan, also, it's something we didn't really touch on, but this is our opportunity to be an exporter of our own stories, to take control of our own culture, our own narratives. It's really important that we stop letting other states tell our stories, I think. Yeah. And I think most Texans would agree. So
yeah, it feels gross.
It feels not good.
Talking about Texas being the backdrop for the story, and they're doing it in New Mexico. I don't like that.
No, we don't like being in last place either. Since when have we been last in anything?
We're
Texas.
Last, baby.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. It really should affect everybody, I think. So. Yeah.
And I know I've got some people who are like, what's he doing in Austin? Listen, it's Media for Texas.
Yep.
Okay. And guess where Fort Worth is? It's Austin, Texas.
Exactly. And I'd
Calm
say,
down.
and Grant's from Midland. I'm from Houston. Grant actually lives full-time in Dallas. So
Oh, wow, okay.
we're all over the Texas map. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have a strong advocate in Fort Worth.
Yep.
We are here to help you guys in any way that we can.
Awesome.
And
Thank
just
you.
use this as another resource to get the message out.
Yeah,
Just
thanks for
anytime.
having us. This is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we do this again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
When the bill gets passed.
Okay.
Recap.
Or, yeah. When
Even if it doesn't.
When it gets
Yeah,
passed.
when it
We'll have
gets
to come
passed.
pay you a visit in Fort Worth.
Yeah, we will.
Okay,
Next
yeah.
time. Next one, we'll come down there.
Are y'all on any kind of crazy diet? Do y'all like meat?
Like me.
course.
Okay.
Yeah, big barbecue. Of
Just
course.
because we're in Austin doesn't mean we're on a crazy diet.
Yeah.
Well, you just
never know.
everybody's got a thing going on, so
Yeah.
always ask. But there's this. I don't know if you call it a steakhouse, but it's called Lonesome Dove.
Oh, yep.
And have y'all been there?
I have not
haven't.
been there, but I
Okay.
know about it. Buddy's
y'all-
giving a thumbs up.
My mouth started salivating.
Yeah.
When y'all come to town, let's go to Lonesome Dove.
Okay. Sounds
right.
Love
great.
it.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank y'all for listening. We'll see you for the next one.
Thanks.
That's it.
Great.
An absolute honor to sit down with today's guest and get a chance to listen to their story and get a little bit of insight. Thank y'all for listening. And man, listen, we're cooking off a ton of content. So get it how you like it. You like full long episodes on the podcast? Cool. Listen to those. No? Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If podcasts aren't really your thing, hey, and if social media is not your thing, come to one of our shows. We're out in the community doing things. We want to meet you, take pictures with you, get to know you a little bit. So there's lots of different ways that you can connect with Fort Worth Roots. Every Tuesday out at McFly's Pub, you can catch us out there talking to people, doing a recording, passing out information on local businesses. So come hang out. Again, Chase and Grant, thank you guys so much for giving me some time. I know you guys are busy. We're looking forward to SB22 getting passed. And, yeah, and then we're going to need to get together, go to Lonesome Dove, hang out, do another recording, all that fun stuff. So, but, yeah, thank you guys so much. And if I didn't say it in the intro, Buddy, Quaid, thank you so much for sitting behind the scenes and just taking care of the camera and the audio. Really made our job super simple. So appreciate you. Okay, let's get into these sponsors real quick so you guys know who's keeping the lights on for us here at Fort Worth Roots. Donovan Manufacturing. We just did a trip down to Dilley, Texas to hang out at a place called The Ranch, Texas. And it's a really rad spot where they're doing a lot of really quality training. Real quality training. What I got to see them do drills with law enforcement officers, boxing in cars and dismounting from their squad and then stacking up behind vehicles, responding to a threat. I got to see a lot of range stuff. We got to operate a 249, a saw, belt-fed pew-pew. What else did we do? They did a lot of class training as well, indoor stuff. It was hot. Triple digits out there, pretty wild. Man, I'm kind of blanking. So vehicle mobility courses, night fire with NVGs and stuff like that. Really cool stuff, man. And it was just a real treat getting to go down there. It was a hell of a drive, but an honor, of course, to be invited out there to the ranch. Anyway, Donovan Manufacturing brought us out there, and their world consists of night vision, thermals, machine gun rentals, AR-15 parts, classes, and more. Also, under the same umbrella, you get all your print needs taken care of. You need banners, vehicle wraps, business cards, brochures, T-shirts, and anything else you might need. Find them on Facebook as Dylan-Press for your press needs. Or you can email them, dylan@dylan-press.com. Donovan Manufacturing can be found at donovanmfg.com. Purple Web Consulting, website design and hosting, e-commerce integration, digital strategy, and consulting. purplewebconsulting.com or 817-629-6069. Making modern business tools accessible to the small business owner so they can compete with the big dogs. Fort Worth Float Company. I just, not too long ago, did a cold plunge challenge with these guys, and it was painful at first. There's some videos I put on Instagram of me acting like a baby back something. Not very flattering. Getting in that ice water and just completely losing my composure. But after 4 days of that, I was able to kind of settle into it, and it wasn't nearly as bad. And then by about day 12 or 13, I was losing track of time while I was in there. Like it wasn't an issue at all anymore. And then the backside of it, I had a foot injury. I had plantar fasciitis, found out online by diagnosing myself. And it went away. It went away after I started doing the ice plunge thingy. And also, it's surprisingly relaxing. Once you get out of that, once you spend 5 minutes freezing your stuff off, it's really relaxing. The sensation you get afterwards. So, but they don't just do cold plunge. They've got the sensory deprivation tanks and sauna and a couple of other services for mental health and just physical well-being. Go check them out. Fort Worth Float Company. It's located just right there off of River Oaks Boulevard. Find them on Instagram as FW Float Company. Hoppin'. If you guys haven't been to Hoppin' yet, this is a pretty cool location. They got 58 self-serve taps on the wall. You walk in, they link a armband to your debit card, and then you walk over to the wall of taps and scan it and pull the tap, and it only charges you for what you put in your glass by the ounce. So that's cool. Because if you're like me, I don't think I really like beer. I like some beer. And so I'll try like an ounce of this and an ounce of that, and eventually I'll find the one I like, and we're good to go. But if you're somebody that does like beer, it's perfect because you got lots of options. If you're more like me and you only like some beers, you don't have to worry about accidentally getting something that you're going to hate, right? You just try it out and move on down the road, down the line there. They also have a full-service cocktail bar. And as far as pricing and just chill environments, Hoppin' has got to be at least top 5 places here in Fort Worth. It's got a great loungy environment. It's perfect if you're by yourself, but it's also suitable if you have a party of like 300 people. So go check it out. Hoppin' is located on Weisenberger Street, just down the road from Doc's Records, and 1 block north of the Target that sits on West 7th. If that kind of helps you dial it in. The Davis Team. Look no further than our friends at the Davis Team for all of your property needs. No commitment necessary. If you have questions about property, then visit them online, yourdavesteam.com, or give them a call, 817-755-0504. And I'm not going to put anybody on blast. I'm not going to say his name, but there's this nerd out there with a podcast, and he did put me on blast during a live recording and told everybody, man, this Andrew guy, he's a backstabber because he's promoting this other real estate group and not me. And this is just a perfect opportunity for me to tell you exactly why you go with the Davis Team or an organization like the Davis Team. The friend of mine that put me on blast on his live show, the reason that I wouldn't let him sell a house for my worst enemy is because I think he's only had his real estate license for maybe 18 months. And I don't know. Has he sold a house? Well, maybe. But these folks, the Davis Team, they have sold a lot of houses. They're breaking records. And they didn't just get their real estate license. They've been in the game for a decade plus. And whenever they go to sell your house, you don't get one agent. You get a team. You get 13 full-time real estate agents. They're not hobbyists. They don't just have their real estate license. So, anyway, all that just to say, it matters. Whenever you go to have somebody sell your home for you, you want to make sure you got the right person because it could cost you a lot of time, a lot of headache, and it could cost you a ton of money. So, anyway, if you're selling or you're buying, or if you just have questions about your property, maybe like your property taxes or something like that, they're there to answer any questions. There's no commitment. They just want to be a resource for you. And then, maybe down the road, whenever you're ready to buy or sell, you might think of them and go, hey, those are the guys that were real helpful and gave me all that information. You find them online, yourdavesteam.com, and their phone number is 817-755-0504. And I have picked a bad real estate agent in the past, and I promise you, you don't want to do it. So I took care of the looking around for you, and made sure that we had the right pick here in DFW for a real estate agent. In fact, they sold 2 of my previous houses, and they helped me buy the one I'm living in now. So I'm speaking from experience here. The Davis team. All right, Galaxy Wilderness Disc Golf. Galaxy Wilderness is dedicated to promoting disc golf to the masses for its health benefits through outdoor therapy, exercise, and camaraderie. Find them on Facebook as Galaxy Wilderness Disc Golf, or you can email them, galaxywildernessdg@gmail.com. Phone number is 682-228-0399. They will bring a full disc golf course to you. Baskets and the drivers, all the frisbees. They also have a night course, so they can put LEDs on the basket and use glow-in-the-dark discs. It's cool. It's real cool. A great idea for anybody that's got an event coming up, just to add a little touch of class to whatever you got going on. They can do 3 or 4 baskets. They could do probably 20. I don't know. It just depends on how much space you got. That's 682-228-0399. The Body Scrubbery. We talked about the Body Scrubbery in this episode. Michelle is located on Pennsylvania Avenue, and this place is where you go in Fort Worth when you need to relax. The Body Scrubbery on Instagram is The Body Scrubbery. Online, thebodyscrubbery.com, and their phone number is 925-808-8222. It's a boutique and unique spa experience. Don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. Luxury foot spa, full body scrubs, infrared heat wraps, massage, bubble tubs, and wraps, facials, couples packages, and small group parties. Outstanding. Did we get, what is going on? Okay, we talked about roofing solutions, I believe, at the beginning of this episode. Maybe not. Roofing Solutions by Darren Houck. You can find them online at roofingsolutionsHouck.com. Phone number is 817-882-6520. And they can take care of your residential or commercial property, small projects or big. They do it all. And this is another great example of us finding you the best in town. They have the highest ratings out of any DFW, roofing company. So this is one of those things you want to be careful about. You can't just have anybody doing your roof. A lot of times you see this, you hear about it, horror stories, picking somebody that offered a really cheap deal or something like that. And maybe it's not completely above bar, but what happens is they'll put the roof on. Sure, it's actually not that complicated of a procedure. And the big difference comes whenever something happens. Oh, I found a leak or something, you call those guys, the ones that gave you a great deal and you never really heard of them before, and they're probably not coming back. You want somebody that's got a great reputation with the community, and that's why we picked Roofing Solutions by Darren Houck to be our go-to solution for anything roofing. Again, the phone number is 817-882-6520, and online it is roofingsolutionsHouck.com. Mention Fort Worth Roots, and they will give you 50% off a roofing tune-up, where they go and like reseal your pipe jacks and kind of inspect the whole roof, make sure you don't have any issues. I mean, when's the last time you were on top of your roof? There's stuff going on up there. You need to have a roofing tune-up about every 2 years, I think Darren says. So, McFly's Pub, a badass little 1980s Back to the Future themed bar with an excellent outdoor patio, complete with fire pit and room for your fur baby. Daily drink specials and fun activities almost every day of the week. See what's new at McFly's on their Instagram at McFly's Pub. We do our Tuesday episode there every week, and we would love for you to come out. It's more than just a recording. We're getting folks out there to talk about their businesses, talk about their art, shout out to 501Cs, whatever you got going, come on out, and let's get it on that week's episode. I don't like calling it a networking event, but that's what we're going for. We want everybody to have a chance to talk up what they got going on in our community. So, does that sound good? Does that sound like a good idea? You could do that and also come out and have fun, get a drink. It's Tuesday, 5 to 7 every week at McFly's Pub. Tres Amigos, Tacos, and Tequila. Chef Sandy brings a fresh perspective of culinary expertise to Tres Amigos, continuing the spirit of female-led entrepreneurship and the culinary excellence that Chef Paul was known for. 909 West Magnolia Avenue, Fort Worth, 76104. Great food. Go check it out. Cloudland Recording Studios. Cloudland Recording Studios is an analog digital recording studio located in the heart of Fort Worth. just 1 mile from downtown and 5 minutes from near Southside Entertainment District on Magnolia Avenue. That's our homie Joe Tacky, and he knows what he's doing. I've heard a lot of the music coming out of that studio, and I guess there's other studios that would probably do a comparable job, but you wouldn't have a Joe Tacky. So, Cloudland Recording Studios, that's where you're going. Next time you want to cut some music, work on another track. And the thing about different studios is you get a little bit of a helping hand, an artistic touch that comes out of someone else's mind. And Joe Tacky is very artistic, creative, really. CloudlandRecordingStudios.com. Thank you to our sponsors. I really went overtime today talking about our sponsors, telling stories and whatnot. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I don't have time and I just have to run through these things as fast as possible. But we were already so far behind on releasing some of the episodes this week that why don't I take an extra 5 minutes and really tell you about our sponsors. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We're trying so hard to make Fort Worth Roots kind of a household name in North Texas, and not out of any kind of evil desire to take over the world. Just this is our passion. Fort Worth Roots is something that we really want to connect the community, to be a powerful force for these small businesses. The thing is, it is so hard now for anybody to get the message out about anything because there's so much clutter out there. There's so many different things going on. And the algorithms, they direct you where to go and feed you what they want you to hear. So we want to kind of take control of that. We want to give Fort Worth business owners, residents, creators, everybody a voice to actually connect with people. So that's what we're trying to do. And I heard something the other day, and I hope that it's true. It was Joe Rogan talking about some people are just so persistent that they're unstoppable. You either get out of their way or get ran over, which sounds a little violent. I don't want to run anybody over, but I'm hoping that the amount of content that we're putting out, the number of interviews that we're doing, driving down to Austin, driving down to Dilley, Texas, going to all these different places, really, really, really putting in the work. I hope that will resonate. I hope that will put Fort Worth Roots in a position where we can be that connecting fiber that helps us communicate with each other, that helps our community get information out in a way that we want, not controlled by an algorithm that's managed by somebody in another state or another country, but right here in our backyard. So come on out. Help us out. Let's do it together. Tuesdays at McFly's is the best way to do that. Just come get your information on the podcast with that live audience microphone, or just come to support. Just take pictures, take videos, put them on the internet, break the algorithm, show that thing who's boss. Okay, that's enough talking out of me. Thank y'all again, and we will see you on the very next episode, which there's 2 dropping today, 1 more tomorrow, and we are doing a recording tomorrow afternoon. So there's lots of stuff. All right. Check on your podcaster. He needs a nap. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.